Hi guys, welcome back. It's Sports with Mono and Mono on February 17th, 2024. Had a little bit of snow this morning in the Northeast. Not so bad as it was last week, but hope everyone's doing well out there. Like I said, we had a great show last week and we had a almost record breaking viewership. So I want to thank all of our loyal listeners for tuning in, and I bet the Super Bowl had something to do with that. Anyway, so we got a lot of stuff we can still talk about. We're going to recap the Super Bowl. Eli will be joining us in a minute. But of course, we start our weekly show with our monologue and going to jump right into it. So, when we talk about sports and things like that, I'm going to single out my grandson whose 10th birthday is today. And these are the young athletes of tomorrow, right? The young Patrick Mahomes and all those kind of things. So when you're driving around in the spring breaks, you see kids playing sports. These are the future stars of tomorrow, and that's what we need. Because nobody can play forever, but I've enjoyed watching my grandson grow up and take to sports just like his uncle, Uncle Steve, and his grandfather, because that's what we did. We played sports all winter, played basketball, and then when baseball season came, we played that, and then of course we played football. So, I mean, this is what gives Eli and I the forum to talk about stuff for years to come. It's the youth of today, and it's a very difficult time from let's say a social and political structure, but when you have young kids playing sports and enjoying them so much, um, like I said, these are the foundation. These are the players of tomorrow. So, I fully endorse youth sports, and it's great to watch. And just a miraculous 10 years since my grandson came to us, and like I said, he loves sports. And by the way, he couldn't be happier because he is a diehard Patrick Mahomes fan, and Eli and I are going to jump right into that. So, Eli, welcome back. There you are, buddy.
What a send off. Good Patrick Mahomes win. That's a good way to end the monologue. I think that's good. Well, happy birthday. And
Yeah,
yeah. Wow. Good
Logan
ending.
Miller. That's right, 10 years old. So, anyway,
Good ending.
so let's jump right into it. We watched a pretty good football game last week, and for the record, both Eli and I had Patrick Mahomes because I think both of us had learned our lesson.
I think we learned
Especially
our
if,
lesson from day one.
right, but when Patrick Mahomes is an underdog, he doesn't like that, and he plays up to his potential. And
Oh, he does.
even when he's not a favorite in the Super Bowl, he
He
just really
still puts
steps
up on
up. And
top.
it was, a lot of people got some, yeah, but we got some feedback from a lot of people, and it seemed like, a lot of people thought the first half wasn't all that exciting and so
Right. It
forth,
was
but
not.
there were key plays, right?
Right. And I'll make the start with the statement first. I mean, you look at it, yes, it was a very boring first half. The scoring was not exactly the greatest as you want to end the half. It was, I believe, 10-3 at the end of the half, 10-6, something like that. It was like a boring half,
Yep.
just to say the least. But the matter of scoring plays, like you had Butker with the 57-yard kick, making history. But before that, Moody from the 49ers makes Super Bowl history, a 55-yard kick. Those key little things, they go a long way. Obviously, you could say championship is very important, but they just set the record, both of them, in one night. And that never happened. You go from one record to another. That was pretty huge. It was a very boring first half. It was not that exciting. However, you could say offense was not good in that first half. Fumbles all around. You had the 49ers fumble in their own. They're right there next to the end zone. And you were like ready to pull your hair out at one point because,
Yeah.
simple plays. The Chiefs, same thing. And silly plays cost the game pretty much.
Yeah, and when you look at it, you brought up a great point. I mean, these field goal kickers were amazing in that game, and but what ends up almost, I'm not saying deciding the game, but it changes the course when you get a missed extra point. It kind of changes the whole dynamic of the game,
And it did.
decision making, all those kind of things come into play.
It absolutely did. And honestly, with that kick missed by the San Francisco side, It was a blocked point by Kansas City. It was perfectly fine, I thought, the kick, but of course, when you have Kansas City there, Kansas City's Kansas City. They play the way they play. But
Yep.
but you could also make a statement that we're shocked to see Travis Kelce still there at the first half. Obviously, we saw what he did with Andy Reid pushing him around at the first half. Obviously, I believe it's his emotions getting to him. And, obviously Andy Reid's okay with it. Obviously, you're down in the Super Bowl by 10. It's kind of embarrassing. But the emotion should have not happened. Not should have been there. But what are your thoughts on the whole Travis Kelce thing? Do you think he should have stayed?
Yeah, well, I do have some thoughts on this, and it seemed to me to be completely out of character. But that's just the passion of playing in the
Right.
Super Bowl and his burning desire to win this game. Him and Andy Reid are very close, and yes, he lost control of himself for a moment, and Andy Reid can understand that. And what happens? Travis Kelce comes out, has a monster second half, and was a
Absolutely.
key part of the game, and the victory for them. And but I think overall, we saw the best two teams playing in that Super Bowl, and both you and I took the Chiefs, but we both said that the talent level on San Francisco is
It's
up
phenomenal.
there,
But
right?
now
And so neither one of us would have been surprised if the 49ers did win
would
the
have won
Super
either.
Bowl. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, to go to the second half starts, it was a pretty good second half. Obviously, the Chiefs took the lead, but now you head to overtime. I'll go to overtime for a second before we go to the whole after party celebration, all that fun stuff. You go to overtime. Well, I'm confused. Why didn't San Francisco know about the rules if it's been there for 2 years? Can someone explain that one to me? I was shocked when they said that in the media. I mean, 2 years it's been in place. You didn't know that? And I believe the rules are fair in overtime. I didn't see any problems with it. Do you see any problems, Jim, with the overtime? Like,
Well, I mean, yeah, this was a little head scratching for me as well. That not only did it seem like Shanahan didn't understand the rules, so in overtime, I think the gist of the overtime rule, right, was obviously to give each team
a
a
possession.
shot, a possession, right, and yet, so the team that gets the ball first somehow becomes at a disadvantage because if they go down and they don't score or they score a field goal or whatever,
The other team can still win.
Kansas City gets the ball back, and I think the whole gist of it is that now they know that they have to go for it on every fourth down on that opening
Absolutely.
drive. And
Now,
I think that's you, but you're right. I mean, even the guy McCall Holden, Herdman, who caught the touchdown pass, he didn't even know that won the game. So,
yeah,
they need to be a little bit more educated on the rules. But I think it was great that they each did get the ball. But there is a little dynamic from strategy perspective that it really didn't seem like people know, and everybody picked up on it, and
yeah.
it ended up being,
Before,
advantageous for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
before I get to my next point, we have a comment from Eric. When does it reach the point of saturation with Travis Kelce?
Yeah, well, you can't get away from it. I mean, the whole media thing, and I'm not going to mention her name,
Yep,
but
we know
this
who.
guy, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. He's passionate.
Right.
Yes, it's a little oversaturated, I guess, because of the media speculation around him. And this wasn't a good look. He's got a PR problem now because that was an ugly scene when you take steps toward your coach and actually almost knock him over. He's
Yeah,
got to rebuild his reputation. I agree with that,
absolutely.
Eric.
Now,
Thank
my
you.
next point I'm going to bring up is if you're the 49ers, you won the toss. Do you want the ball first or second? If you were in that situation, what would you do? If you were in the hands of the 49er, knowing that you just won the toss, what would be your decision if it had nothing to do with the coaches?
I think you have to look at the gist of the rule, and that does change the strategy. So I think the right play was to defer to the
Right.
to Kansas City in that. So you're right about it, that it's kind of a little odd that the rules weren't well known to them, and you got to hang that on Kyle Shanahan, I think.
Absolutely, you do.
but you know what? But I don't know that we'd even be having this conversation if San Francisco,
Would have won.
would have won the game. So
Right. Now, my
this is
next
what.
thing for the overtime is I thought Patrick Mahomes, that was a phenomenal play at the end of the game. With about 10 seconds left in the game, perfect throw right to the end to Hardman to win the game. We didn't hear much about Hardman this year, but hey, he just came out like crazy in that Super Bowl game, if you ask me. Like,
Yeah.
if you ask me, I heard of Pacheco, Travis Kelce. That's what I heard of in the regular season. You didn't hear too much about Hardman. Yes, you did. You heard about him, but not to the level of Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco. To hear what Hardman just did, he had a touchdown, a game-winning touchdown, rather. That changed the whole game around. It was a phenomenal game for Kansas City. I thought it was a fantastic play. Good win for the Chiefs. A lot of people say you should have won based off how many mistakes you have. Yeah, you can make the argument. You can say that. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs. When they're the underdogs, they play well. You can't make a statement. Whenever, even though they played sloppy in the Super Bowl, they played sloppy all regular season. It's the Chiefs, and they are the team to watch out for. And there's no other competition right now in the NFL that could beat them. If you ask for me, my opinion, you look at the San Francisco, they just fired everybody practically on their coaching staff. Defensive coordinator Steve Wilks out. They had assistant head coach and running back coach Anthony Lynn becomes the Commanders run game coordinator. Clint Kurbek, the pass game coordinator, he's off to the Saints. The offensive line assistant coach, James Gregg, he goes to the Raiders. Assistant defensive lineman, Daryl Tapp, he heads to the Commanders. Like the coaching changes that happen is pretty intense. And now it's going to definitely have a big impact and effect come next season with the San Francisco 49ers. They are not going to be the same 49ers we saw this year. Now, I get it. They're all assistants. Defensive is the only one that was major. But I think that's going to be a big impact come next year. Brock Purdy stays as quarterback. Still going to be a good year, but a little change now with a lot out. And now Seattle opens up too when getting Mike McDonald for winning the division.
I mean, we've never seen an off season like this with the coaching changes. Like,
right.
I mean, it was unprecedented. And there's so many movements, but somebody had to take the fall, and they put that on Steve Wilks because, even though they were in the top 2 or 3 for defense all season, come playoff times, they didn't live up to that. They got run on extensively by the Lions, and but coaching changes is always going to be part of the game. But I think right now, when you look at it, and my brother Steve, we sat here 4 years ago when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl, and he said they're going to win 3 Super Bowls out of the next 5 years, and that's exactly what happened.
He's right.
That's Andy Reid, who knows his personnel. He knows the game inside and out. He's got John Spagnuolo as his defensive coordinator, who was rewarded. And we got a comment here from Frankie Pisani.
I think the 49ers fired the wrong person. Shanahan should have been fired.
Well, that's always up for debate, Frankie. It's a good point. But normally the head coach isn't the one to take the fall. Because he got him there. But you could go either way. But they consider this Shanahan one of the young breed, new coaches, offensive innovator, and it doesn't hurt when you got Christian McCaffrey and Brendan Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. So, they seem to be on, in good shape there. And I think we both pointed out, Eli, on last show, that the X factor was going to be the pressure that was put on Brock Purdy. And,
correct.
He's a young kid, and he held his own. He didn't.
I think he did perfect. I didn't see any. Obviously, you could say the fumbles in the beginning and towards the second half were a little bit of an issue, but I thought he played fine. I maybe the play calling is the only thing I could think of.
No, but he did represent himself.
He checked off all the boxes that you could ask. It's just having the guys execute the plays. I mean, that's what it came down to. And you have a Kansas City defense that's top notch. I mean, how can you move far? I mean, you got to look at that too. But I thought he checked off all the boxes.
Yeah, that's a good observation, though, Frankie. Thank you. So, listen. Now we all got to sit back, and we have to deal with the fact that we're going to hear nothing about except for the draft for the next 2 months, and how
Yeah.
this is going to affect teams. And like I said, I think the Chicago Bears have the whole draft structure in their vision, because depending on who they select, and obviously everyone thinks Caleb Williams would be the number one guy, but they
Yeah.
haven't moved Justin Fields. Apparently, they think he's still
Yeah.
worthy enough. And what could happen if they decide that Justin Fields is the guy who'll develop just like C.J. Stroud has,
Yeah.
and they draft Marvin Harrison, obviously the best wide receiver in the draft. That's going to change the whole dynamic of the draft. And
Absolutely.
we're going to talk about that as it comes, but it's just going to be speculation from this
Here
point
on
until
out.
draft day. And
Now,
of course, we'll do a draft show before, when we get
yeah.
close, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, did you have a favorite commercial of the day, the Super Bowl? Just for fun.
I gotta say, no, I really don't take much credence in the commercials. I know they're worth $7 million and whatever, but
Yeah.
like I said, for commercials and marketing, for me, it never really
No.
matters. I'm not going to run out of the house at halftime and buy Doritos or something because somebody plugged them.
I thought it was
But
hilarious.
obviously, you have one. What was yours? Okay,
I thought it was hilarious. The Gronk missed the kick for the second straight year in the FanDuel Kick of Destiny. I thought that was hilarious to watch, knowing that he said, "Oh yeah, I'll make it," and it wasn't even close this year. It was wide right, as Jim Nance puts it. Best. Wide
Yeah.
right. The kick. It was it's just hilarious.
I will say this though. I think maybe the Dunkin' Donuts commercial with
That was
Affleck and
pretty good.
Damon was pretty good.
That was good.
It was pretty good.
And my last one, quick for the Super Bowl before you get off of it, two notes. 49ers linebacker Greenlaw suffered an Achilles injury after jumping off the sideline. You got any notes to that one? Like,
No, that's just how it is. When your Achilles is going to pull or tear, it's going to happen. He was just running onto the field. That's all he was doing, and
yeah,
uh, that had a big impact, by the way.
I always usually did. Comment again for
So,
Frankie.
Frankie, we got another comment.
What did you
What
think
did you
about the
think about
ESPN
the
reporter saying the
Yep.
Giants should take Jones for Watson? I don't know. I make the trade in a heartbeat.
There
I'd make the
is
trade.
no way on God's green earth that is going to happen. So I still think the Giants, depending, like I said, on the Chicago Bears, I'm not going to be surprised if they take a quarterback for sure. But we are not going to trade Daniel Jones. We're going to have to eat the $40 million if he doesn't come through this year, but not for Deshaun Watson. That is just not going to happen.
No, they'll stick with Tommy
And I
DeVito.
know this is coming from our loyal listener, Frankie, who he despises Daniel Jones being the quarterback of his favorite team. And I get that. He hasn't lived up to the potential that we saw last year by winning a playoff game. But I still have hope for him. He's still going to be the starting quarterback, at least for this year.
Would
And
you
we'll
take
see how that
Tommy DeVito over Watson?
Maybe if his mother invites us over for chicken cutlets, maybe we'll give it some thought. Anyway, so
notes.
good stuff, Eli.
I'll give two more notes real quick before we move off of NFL real quick. Raiders Jimmy Garoppolo is suspended 2 games after violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substances policy after taking medication. So he'll be missing 2 games with the Raiders come next season. So
I don't know how that guy has a job. I don't know how he has a job.
Geno Smith remains the Seahawks quarterback, collecting his $12 million bonus yesterday.
Yeah,
pretty good. Honestly, give Seahawks Geno Smith another chance. Obviously new head coaches, new coaching staff all around. Maybe this is the right time. Keep him 1 year. If it doesn't pay out, time to go. And this year with all the 49er coaching changes, could pay off maybe. And this year's Super Bowl was the most watched Super Bowl in history with 123 million views. It's pretty incredible. CBS led, obviously, they had the Nickelodeon game, which was a pretty good call there by Noah Eagle at the end. Pretty good Super Bowl, and that's NFL. See you next year. See you in 200 something days, right? How much do we got?
Right, we're already doing the countdown to
Yeah.
opening day.
I gotta get a chart behind me later for next week. For how many
Yeah.
days until the Super Bowl, to the next NFL start date?
All right. So what happens when the Super Bowl ends? That means pitchers and catchers report. So let's move on to major leagues for a moment, right?
Yep.
So interesting thing. The list of first-time Hall of Fame eligible players came out in this past week, and I went through the list, and I'm going to talk about some Hall of Fame snub actually in the NFL and random points. But from a Major League Baseball perspective, I went down the list and I saw two names that I said, yes, these guys could be. One's Ichiro Suzuki, obviously from the Mariners.
Right.
Um, just a great, great hitter. Yes, first ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it. Guy had 200 hits for probably 10 years in a row. So that was an easy selection. And then you have CC Sabathia, who I've always thought was an outstanding pitcher. He always wanted the ball. He never took days off. And he got 3,000 strikeouts before he retired by 250 wins, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
I have no problem with him going in. And then the only one I had to think about was Dustin Pedroia from Boston. And when I
Yeah.
look at it, he's a kind of a player that you'd love to have on your team. He's scrappy and he did good. But when you look at his overall stats, and he was injured the last few years of his career, so I gotta have to say no. I don't see that as a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
But when you look at what they've been picking for Hall of Fame over the past couple of years, there's been some questionables. Scott Rowland, those kind of things. It's no different than the Hall of Fame selection in football or any other sport. It's at the time, and like I said, I brought up when Randy Gradishar finally got into the Hall of Fame from the Denver Broncos. He had to wait 25 years, which is outrageous. So those are my surefire locks to get into the Hall of Fame this year. I don't know. Do you see Suzuki and Sabathia as Hall of Famers in your eyes?
Yeah, maybe Sabathia, maybe, because I mean you did hear his name a lot, but he was pretty good out there. But I don't know. It's a debatable one. I honestly,
Yeah.
I'd say we hold off. You got better guys out there. That'll be
Well, I don't know. Not on this list, though. We'll see.
I
But
mean,
Suzuki and Sabathia, they're okay with me.
yeah.
So when we look at it, because I know we got a lot of fan base that are Yankee fans and Met fans, certainly from the tri-state area. But we were talking the other day, and when you look at it, and look at the Yankees starting lineup, and yes, you added Juan Soto and you have Judge, a healthy Judge, who's one of the top 2 or 3 players in baseball.
Correct.
So aside from that, there wasn't a heck of a lot of off-season moves by Brian Cashman. They're counting on DJ LeMahieu to be healthy again, and we've seen his production drop off. And Gleyber Torres had a really decent year last year. But again, we're talking about a 265 hitter. We know what we're going to get with Stanton. We know he's going to miss at least 70 games or something from an injury, strikes out a lot. So overall, if you look at the Yankees roster, and in particular the pitching, there's a lot of holes on this team, and the expectations for the Yankees coming off that disappointing season last year. I don't know. I don't know that they righted the ship compared to what somebody like the Dodgers did and got
Yeah.
right
I agree.
Otani and
Ohtani's out there. You got all those top-notch. It's a tough competition in the New York side of things.
yeah,
But
and you also have the same thing on the Mets side.
yeah,
Now we got they got the richest owner in baseball, and there's just a lot of talk around there. The face of the franchise right now is clearly Pete Alonso, and so there's a possibility he's going to be a free agent. So the Mets could do what some other teams have done, or they did with Chapman. The Yankees traded him, and then they re-signed him as a free agent the following year. That's a possibility. I
Yeah.
don't think from a PR perspective, the Mets could do anything but give Pete Alonso the money that everybody else seems to be getting. And
Right.
because that would be devastating for them to trade the face of the franchise. You know, the guy's a 40, 45 home run guy, 120 ribbies every year. Um, that would
Right.
be something. But, a lot of Met fans are sitting here saying, we knew the Verlander, the Scherzer experiment, all that failed. But this is a team that's I don't see them when you look at their lineup. New York Met fans, don't be overly optimistic. I don't think you're anywhere near the team that you could be. Um, but this is the Yankees and this is the Mets. And when you look at the Dodgers, they have what you would call an all-star team lineup,
Right.
day in and day out. So, but however, that doesn't guarantee anything, right? Because you look at the Dodgers over the past few years, uh, they should have more World Series rings than they do. So
Yeah.
it doesn't guarantee anything. So,
Absolutely.
um, but baseball pitchers and catchers reported this week, which is always the first sign of spring,
Yes, indeed.
and that baseball's coming. Um,
Absolutely. And there's more sports than baseball. That's how I look at it. Baseball's coming.
oh
It's a
no, no
long
question
year.
about it.
Opening day and opening week is exciting, but then after you're sitting there waiting and just thinking about what about football and other sports. That's why I look at it. I mean, obviously you talk about the baseball, but still, I just yeah.
No question. No
Yeah.
question. Early in the season, so we'll be talking about baseball for the next 5 weeks until opening day. And but in the
Yeah.
meantime, the NHL, and I know you have a game to attend.
Yes,
I
I
know
do.
you have this stadium series going on at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey,
Yes,
which
indeed.
is this is great. I looked at saw the venue on TV. I know you're going to the game tonight,
Yep.
being a Devils fan,
Yes, I am.
and tomorrow the Rangers play the Islanders.
Yeah.
So you're going to get 80,000 people at these games, and
Yes, it is. The NHL is expecting over 140,000 fans to attend between the next 2 days.
right,
And obviously, the
that's
first few rows are closed off because of the hockey rink and the whole park setup they have. But it'll be good. And you're going to get tonight. I would not be surprised you get more than hockey fans there because you got the Jonas Brothers performing for an hour at MetLife Stadium. They start at
okay.
6:30 performances in their concert series inside the stadium. So you're going to
Yeah,
get just not just hockey fans. You're going to get Jonas Brothers people. It's a cheap ticket compared to a typical Jonas Brothers concert ticket. So that's just my little take. You're gonna get more than
well,
just that.
no, and it's a great take, Eli, because you and I have talked about this. That I think over the past few seasons, the NHL has been doing an outstanding job with the marketing and so forth, and
Absolutely. Now the
expanding.
viewership is a different story, but what they've been doing to play outside is fantastic. You look at that the stadium setup. Yeah, it's a park theme. Perfect to represent the Garden State. You have an amphitheater to represent the Jonas Brothers concert, obviously, and the theaters around our New Jersey area. The logo's great, everything's great, and what makes this game so significant is this is the first game back in the Meadowlands for the Devils since 2007. Remember, they played in the ISOT Center where American Dream is. Right across the street was the old ISOT Center. That's where the Devils once played. That's where they won 3 hard championships there. So you got to just remember that, folks, that this is like a reunion game.
Yeah,
Obviously, for the players, they're not going to know the original stomping grounds of the Devils. They're not going to go back to the history. But you got to remember, as if you're fans, that this is a home game, a true home game, even though you obviously in New Jersey it's home. But this was originally your home, but across the street it was. You got to look at that.
yeah, I know. But this is it's exciting because you're seeing guys, the superstars, right? Sidney Crosby's having a great year, and even
Oh
he's been
yeah,
in this league for probably 18 years. But you got guys like Austin Matthews that have 40 goals already, and Connor McDavid got off to a slow start, missed a few games, had a 6-assist game the other night. So um,
absolutely,
ho-
huge night.
hockey to me is just I don't understand why it doesn't get more popularity and stuff,
I
but
never understood either. It never beats the NBA. Never understood why. It's a fantastic sport. Everything you could ask for is there, and they're really trying. As remember last year, Jim, they did the Big City Greens Classic. They're doing it again this year. It'll be on the NHL ESPN, but this time, joining Drew Carter and Kevin Weeks is our pal Arda Ocal. He will be joining as a quote unquote sideline reporter for the Big City Greens Classic. It'll be on March 9th at 3 p.m. on Disney Channel, Disney XD, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby taking on the Boston Bruins. So you're going to be in the world of Big City. I think that's a fantastic game. And I like that game more than I did with the NFL and Toy Story. I think it's more focused, understandable, and everything just was easy to digest. It wasn't like the NFL where you had the characters weren't playing. This is like a real game, and I enjoyed watching the Big City game.
Yeah, we got to get Arda back on the show because the last time he was on, it was awesome. And
I think he's right now in East Rutherford because they're on campus for the reports for ABC Hockey Saturday.
So as the hockey season progresses, we'll get Arda back on the show and give us kind of a playoff preview when it comes to it, right?
Absolutely.
So when I also think when you look at the clock and the calendar and the NFL season comes to a close, that's when times like the NCAA tournament fervor, starts to heat up, and you see number ones get knocked off left and right. And North Carolina, they were rolling. Then they lose 3 out of 5 games. So that's college basketball for you. But I get very, very excited as we start.
Once March Madness kicks into gear, it's a whole new sport, basically, because the amount of upsets, the amount of excitement that is played in college basketball, it's like March Madness is its own sport, pretty much. It's not like college basketball in the regular season. March Madness is its own thing. It's like its own mini sport, and it's such a great event that I enjoy watching. Like anybody could say, March Madness. Once football ends, March Madness. That's the highlight. That's what you have to look at.
And I'm actually going to go see the Providence Flyers in a Big East game tonight against DePaul, which is not such a great matchup because DePaul's not having a good season, but this is the start. And Providence and Kim English has done a great job keeping them in the mix. They got off to a slow start. They don't have a lot of big guys on the team, but he's got them playing well, and you never know because, this is part of college basketball, the conference tournaments. And when you get to the Big East tournament, which is always exciting, sells out at Madison Square Garden, and, teams can get in by winning their conference champions. Other teams get in with automatic bids by winning the season, not even so much the tournament. So it's wide open. Kind of hopeful for my Niagara Purple Eagles, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. But that's part of the getting back into the sports theme. And we've been talking about the NFL for 8 weeks extensively, and now there's other sports going on, and
such as
NCAA college basketball is one of them. So
now the NBA.
Okay, I'll turn the NBA over to you because this isn't my favorite.
It's All-Star Weekend. It's All-Star Weekend. It continues tonight and tomorrow on TNT. Last night they had the celebrity game. Michael Parsons did pretty good. He had 37 points. He took home game MVP. Team Shannon beat us Stephen A. 100-91 was the final score there. But hey, look at C.J. Stroud. He's multi-talented. He got 30 points last night. He had a pretty good night. He was a team player. You heard a lot of him mic'd up. It was pretty cool there. Some other news to look at for the NBA. Shaq's jersey is forever retired in Orlando Magic. I know it's a debatable topic, but well-deserved for Shaq. Get another jersey retired, but yeah. Atlanta Hawks Trae Young.
There.
I know. Atlanta Hawks Trae Young has been fined $35,000 for inappropriate, unprofessional gestures towards game officials. That happened a few weeks ago, and so he was fined there. Clippers PJ Tucker was fined $75,000 for public comments reported during the week of the game February 5th, according to the NBA. If you think NFL is bad with fines, think again. NFL is just the NBA. If you think NFL is bad, NBA is just as worse when it comes to fines. Let's just put it at that. And Charlotte Hornets president of basketball operations, Mitch Kubicek, is stepping down as organization advisor and header. So that is some news there. And Minnesota's up top with Boston at the number 1 spot. in the NBA charts at Western and Eastern number one. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, random points.
All right. So here from also when I started seeing the end of the NFL season, that starts to ramp up for me, the PGA golf season, and it's underway. Um, like I said, it got rained out the first time in how many years I could ever remember Pebble Beach getting rained out on the final Sunday. But they're at
Yeah.
Riviera Country Club this year, and the big news was that Tiger Woods was playing in the Genesis Open, and you could tell. I mean, I think he's battling. You know, he's such a physical specimen, but his body seems to not cooperating with him. So he ends up withdrawing from this tournament, and that opens up speculation. You know, is it the leg that's hurting his back? Is it the whatever's causing it? He's 48 years old, but he still is the biggest draw in golf. And I think about this. We're
No
about
question.
less than 7 weeks away from the Masters, which is, obviously the preeminent golf tournament in the U.S. next to the U.S. Open. So I look for this, and there was a strange thing yesterday at the Genesis as well. Jordan Spieth inadvertently marked the wrong score down on one hole and got disqualified from the tournament. Whoa. Like,
wow.
Whose job is that? That's the caddy's job, I think, right?
Well, Jim, that position's now open if you want to fill it up.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is.
Right. Sports Mono on the road, folks, at the golf events.
Yeah, we got it. Yep.
You have to keep quiet while the hole's happening.
Yeah. Good stuff. So I got some random points of interest
that
I wanted to bring up, and that of course is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and like I said, it's supporter of our show since day one. We love it. Couple of little things. You got to give a shout out when we were talking about college basketball. We got to go to the women's side, and Caitlin Clark breaks the all-time women's scoring record in an incredibly dramatic fashion. Right, hits this incredible 3-pointer to break the record. So she takes over from Kelsey Plum as and this kid she's some basketball player. She really is.
Yeah. No question.
I don't know how Gino Oriama let her get away and end up going there instead of Connecticut. But
when you think of women's sports, you think of those little moments, and that is key, crucial, and what a moment! What a way to what a way to celebrate, I guess you could say.
Yep. Another one, and I brought this up a little earlier about one of the Hall of Fame snubs for the NFL, and I had no problem. Well, I had a problem with a couple of them getting in, but the one guy that I thought was on that list was a surefire Hall of Fame. One of the best tight ends ever was Antonio Gates, and he doesn't get in. And guys like Steve McMichael and Andre Johnson get in, and not Antonio Gates. Someone's going to have to explain that to me because that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but
I have a good thing.
When you're done.
Yeah, there was a random point that I had brought up. Remember, Eli, I think 2 weeks ago when these idiots stole the Jackie Robinson statue from a minor league baseball facility. Well, they caught those animals, and I'm glad they did, and I hope they prosecute them to the greatest extent of the law because that was just a terrible, terrible thing to do. And they got the guys, which they always seem to do. So I'm sure there'll be contributions because that statue will be recreated and put back in its right position. But, unbelievable that people would even do that. But I'm so glad that they got caught.
That's what I felt about the Kansas City shooting at the Super Bowl party. My thoughts and prayers, obviously, because that's another argument that I have, but not worth mentioning it right now because it's not worth to get angry on a Saturday.
I know, and that really that by the way that you just brought up is really something that it rained on just what's supposed to be a celebration in sports. It turns tragic, and kids are involved. Kids were shot, but you know what? Kansas City will recover from this, and when you see guys like Mahomes and Kelsey go visit each and every one of those kids. That's what the character of Patrick
Absolutely,
Mahomes is all
100%.
about. But our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families that were affected by this senseless, silly thing during a celebration. And one person lost their life, and other kids, this is going to be a traumatic thing for them for the rest of their lives. That's not
No
what
question.
sports is supposed to be about. Period.
Absolutely.
And
I
one
have
other
a
note I saw.
okay.
A retirement from Corey Kluber, who I looked
Oh,
at his numbers. He's a two-time Cy Young Award winner, but hasn't been the same. Injuries take their toll on pitchers, but he pitched 13 years in the league, two Cy Youngs. He was a pretty good pitcher in his day. Not Hall of Fame worthy type player, but he really did. And Yankees had him for a cup of coffee, and it didn't work out. But he had a good career, 13
yeah.
years.
All right, I have a few random points I'll bring up real quick. Uh, we talked about last week how ESPN, Disney, was merging with Warner Brothers Max and Fox Sports. Well, now there's new talks. Paramount Plus, CBS is now in talks with merging with Peacock, NBC. They will be making another big competition to already what is happening with ESPN, Warner Brothers, and Fox Sports. So that
Yep.
is going to be another competition. Again, this is all rumors. Nothing is official yet. Obviously, they're working on becoming a new merge. That'll be huge and game changer for sports and everything in general, because this is changing now. We're getting less and less streaming services, which is a good thing, but now it's becoming a competition between media companies. So that is the other issue. So that's just a debate at this point.
Yeah, and
The
that's it. All that's doing, Eli, is setting the stage for you're going to have to pay for every NFL playoff game and Super Bowls
yeah,
going forward.
the Royals have now unveiled plans for a new stadium in Kansas City. Obviously, they talked about Kansas City changes and stuff, and they will be getting a new stadium in Kansas City. Dates information has not been announced, but they're working on getting a new one.
Yeah,
JJ Redick joins Mike Breen and Doris Brooke as the NBA, ABC, ESPN new commentator. He'll be joining the final broadcast team after some coaching, after new coach in Boston, the changes in the whole group. And FDU Long Island game was late on Thursday. Well, because FDU got stuck in an elevator. They didn't decide to take the
I
stairs.
know. I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Folks, take the stairs. That's the message, folks. Take the stairs.
All
You're
right.
basketball players. You're running. Take the stairs. Either way, FDU did take the victory after the elevator stuck motion 84 to 82. But the
Uh-huh.
message, folks, take the stairs. That's the message. That's the
Okay.
complete message. There you go.
All right,
Random
Eli.
points,
Well,
folks.
thanks for that. Great. So we got other stuff. So of course, we do our movie recommendation, of
Yep.
course, this week, and I can't believe I haven't brought it up because it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. It's Arthur with Dudley Moore, and
Okay.
not Arthur with who was the other guy they did, Russell Brand or something, which
All
was
right.
horrible. But Arthur, the original Arthur with Dudley Moore, is great. It's funny, and they did a sequel. They did an Arthur 2. Wasn't as good. Still good lines in it from Dudley Moore, but I could highly recommend watching Arthur as one of my
All right.
movie recommendations for the week, right?
That's good.
And Eli, I just want to see if you could post that little picture
Yes.
that I had sent this morning because, like I said, it's Logan James Miller's 10th birthday. Hard to believe, but there he is. And he's got a basketball game today. So good luck,
Wow.
buddy.
Good luck.
Yeah, he's something else.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yes. So, Eli, we move into some notable passings, and
Yeah.
last week was I kind of overlooked a couple that were kind of notable. Certainly, one from the world of entertainment, and that was Toby Keith, the country music
Yep.
star who passed away at 64, battled cancer, and so forth. But he was a legitimate country star, always a good guy, does a lot of community service, very patriotic. That was a big loss for the music business. And one other person that I neglected to mention, and regretfully so, was Robert Beckwith, who was 91. And most people would know he was the face of the NYPD and New York City Fire Department. He was there when President Bush was there at Ground Zero. He was the guy
Yeah.
standing right next to him, and he was 91 years old. But that's a picture that is embedded in everybody's mind from one of the, if not the most tragic day in the history of this country. Pearl Harbor being the other one, just a
Right.
tragic loss of life. But he lived another 20 some odd years, and he's 91. He was 91, and like I said, we go out. We on this show we respect soldiers and
Absolutely.
fire and
Especially on this
policemen and
President's Day
all.
weekend.
Yep,
It's an American holiday that we all honor.
yep, and also this was an interesting one because it's just happened. Kelvin Kipton. And Kelvin Kipton just broke the world marathon record not too long ago.
Wow.
Dies in a car crash in his country. 24 years old. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
So that's an athlete, and I know a lot of friends and guys that are members of roadrunner clubs, and they're really into running. And this guy set the standard, which may or may not ever be broken. So that
Yeah.
was a big loss for the roadrunners. And
There was one notable passings this week that I had was William Bill Post. He was the inventor of Pop-Tarts. Why is this significant? He was 95 years old, inventor of Pop-Tarts. He just had the Pop-Tart bowl. And also, the joke was that Pop-Tarts should be the cover of the college football's new video game that they're creating. That was the joke. I don't play video games, but that was the joke. In memory of the whole
I
Pop-Tart
don't
brand.
either.
It's still there, but
you know what? I did have
it's a successful
Bill
company.
Post in my notes for notable passing because being of let's say senior status, I've had 5 million Pop Tarts in my life. So that's
I
that's
never.
kind
I don't
of
think
a
I've had a. I think I had a Pop-Tart
yeah.
maybe once. I don't even know if I had it. Like,
Oh my God, I've had so many of them. But and pun intended,
yeah, give me rid of.
Pop Tarts were part of pop culture. So that was the
Ha!
big loss. Yeah. And one other one from the world of sports, and this is a guy that I remember playing. He was on the Big Red Machine. He won 4 consecutive World Series, 2 with the Reds in '75 and '76. And he was also a member of the New York Yankees, signed as a free agent after the '76 season, and won a championship with the '77 and '78 Yankees. Don Gullett was a great pitcher, 73 years old. But how about that? Winning 4 World Series titles in a row. It's pretty
Absolutely,
good.
it's huge.
Yeah. And one other note, it's kind of obviously not sports related, but we see what's
We
going
still honor it
on
anyways.
in the world going with the war in the Ukraine and so forth. And Alexander Navalny, who was kind of the poster boy for protesting against Putin and the way that he was running. They tried to poison the guy. He ends up getting sentenced, and he died in jail yesterday at 47 years old. And that's a guy that tried to make things good in the world. So we can sit here and we can talk about sports and so forth. So that's kind of a tragic loss from a political side of the house. And like I said, that's why when we talked about the monologue and youth sports, and
Yeah,
we live and die for this stuff, but there are people
absolutely.
around that try to make an impact in order for us to enjoy sports. And he was certainly certainly
Remember.
just a guy that had nothing but good things to do in the world, and unfortunately he passed away. So
Absolutely. Thoughts and prayers.
so, all right, Eli. So we have to figure out. We have to get over our no more footballs hangover.
I know.
Right?
You got to talk about Jersey Devils. Go Devils
I
tonight with
saw
the
it.
stadium
I
series.
noticed it as soon as we went on before the show. That's a nice throwback jersey.
Third jersey, yes, it is.
Right?
Cannot wait.
For the
Go Devils.
Are they wearing that jersey tonight?
No, they have a different jersey. They came out with all the teams that play this weekend have new jerseys. The
Okay.
stadium series jersey. Looks good. See if I get it. Go Devils
I
anyway.
like it. I like it.
Yeah, I like this jersey, but they won't be wearing it tonight.
All right. Well, you better wear some earmuffs because it's going to be cold in MetLife Stadium tonight
Oh, I
for
know.
the
I
game.
got the. I got it ready to go. It's gonna be like a go to Alaska, but or Antarctica, but it'll be fun though. Go Devils.
Well, you and your dad enjoy the game, and tomorrow the Rangers play the Islanders in the same venue. It
Go
should be
Islanders.
exciting to watch. So, Eli, listen, have a great time tonight. And again, I think your job doing talking about the Super Bowl was great. Good, congratulations on picking the game right.
And you too. Congratulations.
Congratulations to both of us, actually. But
Yeah, Tyler.
yeah, so there are other things besides football in the world of sports, and that's what we're
We'll be
going to
talking about it
do. We're going to be back here with you folks. Yep, we're going to be
next week.
back here next week talking about plenty of stuff in sports. And again, I always have to mention, we got guys like Eric and Frankie sending us comments during the
Comments.
show,
Thank
but
you to all who
last week
commented.
was a banner week for us. It was
Yes,
really
it
a good
was.
week for us, and
It's one of our top
so we
6
we
shows
are
now.
growing. We are trying to make different things happen on the
Right?
show, and
Yep.
it's just been a great run. It was a great football season, but there's a lot more to talk about, and it's really great to have you on the show with us in
Thank you.
Steve's place
Appreciate
for
it. And
the time being.
it's been fun, and we're gonna continue on. This is only February. We still got March. We got a whole year to plan.
Yep.
We're ready to go. We're ready. This is Sports Mano Mano. We're ready to go live, better than ever before.
You bet. And we're gonna keep growing. And again, but for our loyal listener base, thank you. And it's growing every day. So, like I said, Eli, enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you. Enjoy the
We'll be
your
back
game tonight
here.
too.
Yep. I'll be back. We'll be back here next
yeah.
Saturday at 10 o'clock. And again, we thank everyone for listening and all the best and digging out of the snow and so forth. And have fun tonight. And we'll see everybody next week on
See
the
you next
show.
week. Goodbye.